Okay, here we are at part 4 of how to draw a t-shirt in Illustrator. We are at the point now that we need to move our t-shirt off of our image and start looking at it as a CAD separate from tracing a drawing or tracing this photo. So I'm going to first use my black arrow and select all of my CADs here. That's all different pieces right now because we haven't grouped our CAD. Don't group it yet. It's not good to group it because you want to still be able to move things around. So I'm just going to move it to the side here. I'm going to hit Command Option 2 and I'm going to unlock all the things that we had locked, and I'm going to click with my black arrow, which is V, and move it over here to the side. Then I'm going to go over and grab my t-shirt and move it into my artboard in the center here. And I want to start looking at what are the details? Where are the stitching, the bindings, the trims? What details are we missing out of our CAD? The most notable is this neck binding here with a double needle stitch. So let's go add that in. Okay, so we're gonna zoom in. I like to get real close. And if you have things that get in the way, if these windows are getting in the way for you, try hitting Tab. It makes all of your windows disappear, but then you can just scoot them back in if you hit Tab again. Try that out, and it's really helpful, especially if you're on a laptop when you have a small screen. So I'm going to get rid of all of my windows to give myself a little more space. I'm going to hit P to get a pen tool, and I'm going to start drawing in this binding. You'll notice that I'm not doing the half and mirror imaging it. At this point, these little details, if they're slightly imperfect, you can go back and tweak them. And also it gives a little bit of life to your garment drawing and makes it look a little more real if it's slightly imperfect. So I drew my shape here, and it looks like it was just picked up whatever the last thing I drew was, which is this back thing. So I'm going to hit eyedropper, and I'm going to eyedrop to be the same color as my body because it is the self body fabric. So now we have a little binding. I think this is a good point to discuss the weight of all of our strokes, because as you can see, they're kind of thick and they look kind of lumpy and silly. So I'm going to hit Tab, turn my windows back on, go over to my stroke here, and it looks like all of the strokes are mostly 1 point. So I'm thinking maybe we change it to be 0.75 and we add some of this roundedness. And I want you to watch this area as I do that and see how it gets fixed up. The best way to do this is to use a magic wand tool, which is Y. This little magic wand tool is actual magic. It lives up here. I also have a window for it. So if you want to open up your magic wand window, you can double click or go up to window and open your magic wand window. The magic wand, you can choose if you want to grab all the objects on your page that have the same fill color, the same stroke color, the same stroke weight, or a combination of all of these things. There's also tolerance here, which gets very important when you are working with things that are tonal. Tolerance is about how close you are to the actual thing you're picking up. How much do we generalize? And when I'm working on something, let's say like here, I have all these teals, my 20% tolerance could actually be too high, that it could end up grabbing more than what I want. So I'm going to go in here and just move this to be 0 because that makes it that it doesn't tolerate anything outside of what you are clicking on. So we're going to go in here, and what we're trying to change is the stroke weight. So I'm going to click stroke weight and I'm going to unclick fill color. So what we're saying is anything that I click on right now, it's going to select anything that is similar to that has the same stroke weight. And I'm going to move my tolerance to be 0 because again, we want our tolerance. There's no tolerance. So I'm going to click on here, and you see how it selects everything that has 1 point. And I can go in here and change it to be 0.75, which I think looks better. And then I'm going to go in, and I want you to see how this looks a little better when I do this. You can see how it softens the corners when I choose a cap in corner that's different than the square one. Next, we're going to add some stitching. I'm going to go in here. I like to do this by subtracting, so I'll teach you a little method of that. I'm going to hit my black arrow tool and select the shape that we just made. I'm going to copy and paste it. Then I'm going to zoom out and hit I and get it to be and I drop the stitching. It looks like we have a fill on this, so I'm going to take the fill out. Then I'm going to hit A and select each of the sides and delete them out. Boom, now I have basically a parallel stitch line for the top and the bottom. I'm going to go in here and place them. Lastly, I am going to group it. So we'll select, so use your S, which is the group selection tool. We're going to select your first item, hold shift, and select all of the other items you want to group together, and Command G. And now when I hit it with the black arrow, they're grouped. And then I'm going to send it backwards by Command open bracket. In my case, it's only one thing in front, so I just sent it back once, but you may need to send it back a couple times. But you see, basically what we're doing is making the order of these items so that this overlaps here and it overlaps this. And these, with all of these layered together, it's starting to look like a three-dimensional t-shirt, which is pretty cool. The last thing I want to do is just tweak a little bit more of the stroke. So I'm going to hit S and get my group selection tool. And I'm going to select this and change it to be 0.5 because I just think it's going to look a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. Let's add some shoulder seams. So we're going to go in here. I'm going to take out the fill. Oops. I'm going to, sorry, not take out the fill. I'm going to select an object that I want to draw the seam stroke. So I want to draw this exact stroke here. So I'm going to select this object. Then I'm going to click off of it, go like this, and make it so that it has no option. But you see how we've picked up that color? This is a good practice in doing when you're CADing because that's the way that you can pick up different types of strokes as you move. So now we have the stroke. I'm going to hit pen, P, and draw in my shoulder seam. Hit S, get to drop the group selection tool, copy, paste, go to transform, flip horizontally, hit tab to make all my windows go away, and move this over here. It looks like my shoulders are very different in size. So this is a good opportunity for you to figure out why that is the case. I think I might have it, I might move my neckline over completely. So what I'm going to do is click on my back layer here. I'm going to Command 2 to lock it. Then I'm going to click and drag all of my objects here, and I'm going to just arrow it over. Use your arrow to make it more center. And then I'm going to Command Shift close bracket, and that brings all of these things I have selected to the front so that the shoulder seams are thrown to the back. Look at that. Next, we're going to draw in some stitching because if you look at your t-shirt, you'll notice that there's the double needle stitching. This binding comes around the back and across the shoulder seams so they don't get itchy on your shoulder. So this double needle stitching goes down the shoulder. So one way to do this is you select the line with any of your arrows, hold Command and Option, and then click and drag down. I just move it with an arrow to get it right. And then you can click and drag up. You can select both of those lines, so hold shift and click on both of them, and then hit I and eyedrop to get that. The other way that you can do this is you hit P, so you have your pen tool. If you hold Command, you can click on the stitch line that you want to mimic. Remember when we clicked on a line to mimic the stroke? So we're saying we want to use this type of stroke. So I selected this, but then I'm going to go over here and start drawing. And because I had selected that first, you see here how it's giving me the stitch. So if you have a bunch of stitching to do at once, you can engage your stitching stroke and start drawing with it. So the pen will always draw the stroke, weight, dash, whatever the stroke application is of the last thing that you selected. So those are the two different ways that you can do this and many other things in CADing. So now we have a shoulder seam with some stitching. This is starting to look like a real t-shirt. Look at that. The last thing I like to do here is add in a side seam, because even though you may not see the side seam in the picture, it's important to note for everyone, everyone, meaning the manufacturer, that there is a side seam or there is not a side seam. So because we were just drawing with stitching, this is drawn with the stitch line, but I'm just going to hold Command, click off of it to get out of my pen tool. Then I'm going to hit S, click on the line, and I am going to use my eyedropper to eyedrop my shoulder seam. And then I will go over here and do the same on this side. Okay. And now we have the front of a t-shirt. Look at that. I'm going to take my black arrow tool, click and drag on everything here, and Command G and group it. Now we have a grouped CAD. Let's make a back view. I'm going to, oops, that's a good learning. I grouped everything here, but we had locked the back layer. So when I grouped it, it didn't include that back layer. So let's hit undo. Let's hit undo again so it ungroups. Let's hit Command Option 2 so that unlocks. And then now let's select everything and group it. Let's see if that worked. There we go. All right. So I'm going to put my front here and I'm going to copy and paste. And we're going to make a back view. One of the best parts about drawing the way that I taught you is that a back view is pretty simple. It's a lot of taking away and a tiny bit of tweaking. Let's hit S and get our group selection tool. We don't even need to ungroup. I'm going to hit the side seams. I usually put the side seams on either only the front or only the back because you don't want it to be that there are two side seams. So we delete. I'm going to click this side seam and delete. I'm going to zoom in, and same thing with the shoulder seam. We need to delete the shoulder seam. Click, delete, click, delete, click, delete, click, delete, click, delete. Okay. For the neckline, I'm going to use, again, this is the group selection tool, which is S. I'm going to click on the rib, and if you click 1, 2, 3, it grabs only that group of the rib. Remember how we grouped the ribs to be the front rib and the back rib? So look, when I take it now, it's only that. Let's delete this out. We don't need that. We're also going to delete this back neck shadow because we're not having that in this view. Lastly, we don't need this binding because that's on the inside. But we do need this stitch line. So now we have this, and all we have to do is just zoom in and tweak. So I'm going to hit A and use my white arrow and just tweak this here using the vectors and also these handlebars. to mimic the back neck. Oops. If you grab the wrong thing, you just hit undo. That is the best part of catting. Look at that. The double needle in this case is supposed to straddle the seam line, so that is what I am creating. I'm just going to pull this out. Okay. Voila, we have a back view. The other great thing about this is it's still grouped because we copied this item and we changed it, we pasted this, and so the group came with it. And because we just deleted things away, all of this is still grouped together. And now we have a front and back view. The last thing we'll do is save this, Command S, and we're going to go in here, choose where you want to save it. And I'm going to go into UMass Dartmouth, and I'm going to save mine as Tshirt _ Sydney, like this. We're going to keep it an Illustrator file. I want to be able to see your vectors and take apart your CAD. So as long as you just name it Tshirt _ your name here, and then you're just going to upload it into Canvas. So we'll save like that. And you're done.